Video, we'll talk about the different types of articles you might use for your research and their different characteristics, which will help you determine whether and how you'll want to use them. When you're doing research, you might read articles to help you learn more about your topic. While books often go very in-depth on a specific topics, our articles are usually shorter than books and focus on a specific aspect of your topic. When looking for current information, you'll also want to look at articles because there's less time between writing and publication of articles than for books, usually. So while if you read an entire book on your topic, you'd probably have a pretty good basic understanding of it. You might need to read many articles about a topic and put the information in them together to acquire a good understanding about your topic. Articles are usually considered primary or secondary sources. Scientific articles that report the results of original research studies are considered primary sources. Most other articles will be considered secondary sources because they'll be presenting information that's based upon other primary and secondary sources, like summaries, or they'll be explaining it, for example. There are many different kinds of articles, each with their own unique characteristics, which determine the quality of the information they contain. We'll discuss academic articles, dissertations and theses, professional or trade magazines, news sources, and popular magazines. If you're looking for the results of research studies or academic literature, essentially articles written about a specific topic by experts in a particular field, you would want to look for articles from academic journals, also called scholarly articles. These journals are often peer-reviewed. What's peer review of articles in an academic journal? It means that after an article was submitted to the journal, it was sent to several other experts in the field. They review it according to the standards in their field and provide recommendations for improvement and whether the article should be published in that journal. Only after going through this review is the article published. When you see an article in a peer-reviewed journal, you know that it's a sign of the article's quality. These are the articles that you'll often use for your research. When you find articles in peer-reviewed journal, remember that only the main articles are peer-reviewed. Book reviews or opinion pieces published in those journals aren't peer-reviewed, but the main articles would be. You could also use dissertations and theses. These are not books or articles, but are a final product of master's or doctoral work. While these are not peer-reviewed, dissertations at least have been reviewed by the program faculty. Master's theses generally go through less rigorous review by program faculty than doctoral dissertations. They are usually longer than articles, and you can frequently find current research done by another student. The literature review and references are excellent places to find the latest research on your topic. You can also find articles from professional or trade magazines. These are magazines that have the latest news, research summaries, issues, and best practices in a particular field. Often professional associations will publish these magazines. For example, if you're a chemical engineer, you might look at CEP magazine, which is a professional magazine published by the AICHE Professional Association. These articles are not peer-reviewed, but they're reviewed by an editor and are held under scrutiny by members of the professional association. However, remember that they haven't gone through the same rigorous review as a peer-reviewed article, and they're generally not reporting research studies. You might also check news sources to find current events or reporting on past events. Remember to scrutinize the information in a news source. It's best not to go solely on what you read in a news source, but to follow up with other credible sources. For example, if a research article is mentioned, go look at the original article itself instead of relying on the news source's interpretation of it. If the news source discusses a speech, go listen to or read the speech yourself. If it mentions data, go find the original data source. To get a general idea of different media sources, you can also check the media bias chart. They provide their methodology, so you can read about how they come up with their ratings for bias for different media sources. News sources at the top in the green area closer to the center have been labeled as having less bias. However, you always need to evaluate the information before deciding whether and how to use it. You might also be looking for popular magazines. These are magazines such as Popular Science or Time that are on a subject and are for the general public interested in the topic of that magazine. For example, Popular Science provides summaries of the latest research that would be of interest to the general public and is written in a format that's easier to read than an academic article. The articles are usually a lot shorter, and there are a lot of colorful images and charts to help readers understand the content. If you find them in the library's databases, the photos will likely be missing. Sorry. Make sure to understand where the information is coming from in these magazines because the content is chosen by the editor in order to increase readership. So while you might find useful information in these, it's best to find more detailed information in an academic source, such as a book or academic article, when doing research for your topics. One thing you'll notice is that the articles rarely cite their sources of information. Remember that whatever source you look at, it's your responsibility to understand how the information was created, its purpose, and how trustworthy it is overall before deciding how to use it.